you go. Michigan basketball, the Michigan basketball postgame live. I'm Dennis Fithian here on the Maize and Blue Review. Wolverines winning the game today and beating Ohio State. And we're ready to talk about it with you. Have a chance, whether you want to jump on in. You can use the feedback. You can call in on Spaces. That is all ready to go. Michigan with the decisive victory, 77-69. A lot of things to like today about the Wolverines. Reminder, man, we're here after every Michigan basketball game talking about the Wolverines win or lose. And it was an enjoyable day. Anytime you're beating Ohio State, that's going to be enjoyable if you're a Michigan fan. Michigan in dire need of having a victory. Ohio State struggling. And really, it was Michigan all day long. There was never a spot in this game where you thought, oh, you know what? Michigan's not playing well. It doesn't look like it's going to be Michigan's day. This is the way you're supposed to do it. Go out and, come away with a decisive victory. And that is what Michigan did. Wolverines were favored by 3 points in this game. And we'll go through it a little bit as I took a look at it. And as you watched it or listening or listened to it, Michigan, they were up by 5 at the half, 41-36. Hunter Dickinson had 13. Jet Howard and Kobe Buffkin each had 10 points at the break. And then Michigan was able to expand that lead in the second half. I thought the biggest bucket was by Joey Buckets. Joey Baker, he hit a three to put Michigan up 12 with 7 left in the game. And, that was pretty much all it took for the Wolverines in this one. I would say that Hunter Dickinson, he's had games where he scored more points, but Dickinson with 26 and 11 boards. He was dominant. I'd say, what was Ohio State doing defensively on him? They did not. Like, if you watch the tape and you've watched Michigan play this year, you've watched teams give Hunter Dickinson problems digging down with their guards. You watch Michigan State double him, triple him, get the ball out of his hands. Ohio State was not doing that. Curious move by them. They did a few times, but not very often. And, Dickinson, you allow Dickinson to get the ball down low, and it's not like they've got, talking about the Buckeyes, guys with gigantic size that are able to stand toe-to-toe with them, and Michigan took advantage of that. I also think Michigan did a bunch of different things with Hunter Dickinson. It's not like they always just put him down in the left block and throw it down to him, but in a lot of games, it does seem like Michigan does that. Like, that's where Hunter likes the ball. And so Michigan tries to get him the ball there, and then teams will double him, and then he'll throw it out and they'll kick it around. Today, Michigan will watch this tape of their offense, and the way that they moved him around was nice. There was a real flow to it. And maybe that was Michigan's answer to the double teams. Maybe Ohio State didn't have a chance to go down there and double him because the ball wasn't sticking. A lot of times they were throwing it down in the past, to Dickinson. He'd hold the ball, and then the doubles would come. They were throwing it back. He would get it, and he would make his move. I'm talking about in today's game. Also in today's game, he was getting the ball on the left side and going to work. They would also post him up right in the middle. He would get good positioning. Great job by Hunter Dickinson getting that positioning today, working hard to, even before he got the ball, he was in the spot that you wanted to. Look like he had great awareness of where he was at on the floor. You can't say that all the time about Dickinson this year when he was posting up, but you saw him, whether it was right in the middle, whether it was over on the left side, or then over on the right side. And the last 2 games, the color analysts, the game against Northwestern, Seth Greenberg from ESPN was on, he was the analyst, and Greenberg was talking about, well, Hunter Dickinson wants the ball over on the right block. That's where he's the best as a lefty, so he can go into the middle and have that hook. And I'm watching the game, and I'm thinking, that sounds right. Greenberg, a longtime coach, but if you've watched Michigan play for any length of time this year or all 3 seasons with Dickinson likes the ball over on the left block. So hearing Greenberg say that was a little bit interesting, but today there was no doubt that Michigan was using Dickinson in different spots and posting him up. I think force feeding him over on the right side, and it was very effective. He did go to that hook. So I don't know, combination of Ohio State, maybe just not going to the double team, but Dickinson and Michigan offensively putting him in different spots on the left block, in the middle, over on the right side, popping him out, putting him on the baseline, bringing him up, getting him into pick and roll, all of those things. He was fabulous today. And, this is when you start talking about Michigan's got 8 games left in the regular season. They got to start stacking up some W's. This is the guy that you're going to ride, and this is the guy you're going to get the ball to, and you're going to do a lot more like they did today. And, if they can get this going, they've got some wins, you look at the schedule, some games that are very winnable when you start to take a look at it. But, they needed to get today's win, and they were able to do that. So good job by Michigan there. And the Wolverines now improve to 13-10 overall, and they kick it up, being able to get the victory. I think they are now 6-5 in the Big Ten. Up on the screen, it says 5-5. Heading into this game, Ken Palm numbers were Ohio State had a pretty good Ken Palm number at 32. Michigan at 57, and let's look at a little bit of the feedback coming in here for this game against Ohio State. Sam saying Kobe traveled on purpose. Did he not know about it? Well, Sam, I actually was running some tape, to get a nice little lead in. And Kobe kind of ruined it for me because it was going to be nice. And then, he traveled. So I actually have that audio here from CBS.
Impressive performance by Michigan today. I think Michigan's a team that is starting to play like an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, they started to get confidence in the second half against Northwestern, and it's carried over to this game today. Buffkin just traveled because he was celebrating with Jett Howard.
They're the young guys, right? He's still a sophomore.
McNeil.
Yeah, well, so that it ruined the highlight to play in, but they were just letting the clock run down, so you don't even think about it sometimes. I don't know. I think the refs and other situations they just let that go by, but even if the other team waves the white flag, you still have to hold the ball and not move your feet, and that's what happened there. So, always a little bit of a lesson there, even in a win. You don't want an extra turnover for the team. You don't want one on yourself. But that's what happened there. Dooney Dunn talking about Michigan shooting 50% from the field, almost not shabby. Would have liked to seen 1 or 2 more of those threes fall. But hey, well, Michigan 8 of 23 from downtown. They shot 49% on the game. Sure, you'd like to shoot a little bit closer to 40% from downtown. You look at some of these games, I was watching Rutgers and Michigan State, man, neither of those teams could shoot threes. So shooting over 70% from the line, which they did, good. 34.8%, you take it. You'd like to do a little bit better than that, but almost 50% from the floor. That was good. Michigan looked good today. This is, you heard Jay Wright there. If you watch the game on CBS, the former Villanova coach, and, Jay Wright doesn't have even though he's got the great suits, and I was going to say, he doesn't sound polished, although, he is actually very polished on the air. He doesn't have the catchphrases of a color analyst, but you start listening to him talk about the positioning on the floor, where the ball is, where guys want the ball, all the different other things. It was, I liked what I heard from Jay Wright today. It was fun to hear. And, Jay Wright saying Michigan playing like a tournament team now, and they have to. D saying Kobe just doesn't think sometimes, makes bonehead plays from time to time. It's frustrating. These are freshman mistakes. And yeah, Kobe's a sophomore. Kobe Buffkin has come on, and he is one of the reasons that Michigan, if they are going to do something, he has elevated his game really all year long. I like Buffkin. He had 13 points today. He had 10 in the first half, but He's rebounding more. He's passing 13, 8, and 5 for Buffkin. And then he had just that one turnover at the end. That was it, which wasn't all that bad. So it should have had no turnovers, but a Baker's dozen and 8 boards and 5 assists. That's pretty good from Mr. Buffkin today. I don't really have anything about his game. Even that one, not that bad. So D's commenting that it was a good game, though, by Michigan, even though he only caught the last 10 minutes of the game. So, yeah, well, Michigan played well throughout this one, and it was Hunter Dickinson being able to get it done. Put the numbers up on the screen for everyone to see. But, these are the kind of games, like, you're a Michigan fan, and I think at times people get frustrated with Dickinson and talk about, well, because he was great as a freshman. And then as a sophomore, he wasn't so great. He was still pretty good. And then he had his flashes. And then this year you'd think, wow, man, if he could increase from his freshman year, from his sophomore year to a junior year, he should be awesome. And, one thing when you're a post player like Dickinson, a lot of it in how you look is going to depend on the players around you. You think when he was a freshman, he had Mike Smith and Shawnee Brown and Franz Wagner and Livers. He always had shooters around him out there. Then they could pass it around or they could do all the things. And then, in different spots, he could be like he was today. He could just go out there and dominate the opponents. And last year, he was not able to do that very often. He had Eli Brooks. But as we know, it never really worked when it came down to Caleb Houston being able to find his outside shot. And this year, it's been a little bit of the same, where Michigan hasn't been great with shooting it from outside and freeing him up. But today was everything that you would want from Hunter Dickinson. If he can play like this, Michigan's going to have a shot down the stretch to get into the tournament. 26 points, 11 boards, and 2 feeds. Jet Howard supplying the offense as well today with 16 points. Kobe Buffkin, already talked about him. Nice stat line with 13, 8, and 5. Doug McDaniel hit some big shots, including the 3 to start this one out, 8 and 4. Terrence Williams, the second, 6 points and 4 boards. And here's Joey Baker. Joey Baker is one of the keys for this team. If you can get some offense from Joey Buckets coming off the bench, and he can hit some threes, and he was 2 of 4, but you want even more. He had 14 last game, talking about Baker. If you could just get some more offense from Baker, you're going to feel pretty good about it as well. If you are a Michigan fan, and there's some of the numbers that you're looking at, 28 of 57 from the floor, 8 of 23 from downtown. We already told you what the percentages were on those, but real nice job today from Michigan overall in a game that they had to win. Dickinson, if you can see, if he can play like that, then Michigan, is going to have some shot to win some of these ball games. And I would think that one of the keys would be Joey Baker off the bench being able to bring some offense for Michigan. They are going to need that in the upcoming games. What about those upcoming games? Let's look at them. And that is brought to you. The upcoming schedule is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review's Good Afternoon Michigan Football and Basketball. That is a show that you can listen to and watch on this feed that you are listening to and or watching right now. 1 o'clock weekdays. Tomorrow we'll be here talking about Michigan. A couple things happened with the football team over the weekend. We will also revisit this basketball game as well. 1 o'clock on the Maize and Blue Review on this feed that you are watching right now. That schedule, the aforementioned schedule, is on the screen. Let's walk through a couple of the games coming up ahead. And Michigan will be back at it at 6:30 coming up Wednesday against Nebraska. I would put that in the must-win category. Nebraska is not all that good. Michigan has to have a W here. You always say must win, like they could go out and win the Big Ten tournament. So none of the games are really must win, but it feels like a must win when you consider some of the other games that they have that will be difficult, you would think that they would need to collect this one and put it in the W category. A little bit earlier start on Wednesday, 6:30 against Nebraska. Coming up Saturday, Indiana, who just hosted Purdue yesterday, a game that, man, Assembly Hall was rocking, and Indiana serving up Purdue, their first road loss in the Big Ten. Hoosiers playing incredible against Matt Painter's team. This Saturday, the Hoosiers will be in Ann Arbor. That'd be a game that I would want to be at. Michigan, Indiana, Saturday at the Crisler Center. And then February 14th is a game a lot of people are looking forward to. The Juwan Howard, Greg Gard, the first time Michigan and Wisconsin will meet since last year. And, everything that was going on after the game and the handshake line. On Valentine's Day, Michigan, Tuesday, the 14th, will be in Madison taking on Wisconsin. And then looking down the line a little bit, you've got Michigan State on tap at the Crisler Center, February the 18th. Can Michigan win all these games? They can. Well, let's be honest. Which ones do we think they are going to win? Nebraska, Indiana. You want to make the tournament? How about winning at home against Indiana? I would say let's put a W there. Let's put a W there. Going to Wisconsin. Teams have been able to. Wisconsin's not all that good. Can Michigan win 4 of these? Certainly 3 out of 4. We're talking about going to the tournament, getting into the tournament. Michigan will need to win 3 out of these 4. Now, if they just win their home games, and that's what we say all the time, win your home games, then that'll do it. Nebraska, Indiana, and Michigan State. You want to beat Michigan State, too. There's your 3 out of 4. But, can they go Nebraska, Indiana, Wisconsin? And then, if I could pick, that's the way I would want to see him do it. Of course, you'd want to see him win all 4 if they could. But let's also be honest about it. Let's get some questions in. Wade asking, is Will Cheddar hurt? Will Cheddar is not hurt. He was sick in Michigan's last game where he didn't come out at the second half. I think flu symptoms, under the weather, that can be draining, where you could say why he didn't get any burned or run today, didn't play at all. So maybe the effects of being sick the last time out against Northwestern. I don't know what his practice schedule is, and if, maybe, feeling the ill effects or the effects of being ill. Guess that's the way to put it. And I know people want to see more Will Cheddar, want more Will Cheddar, but I think that's what it is. He is sick. That's what's going on. Wade is saying he seems to fit better than Terrence Williams or Jace Howard. He was getting some run. He was. And for whatever reason, the one thing, he is a fan favorite. I'll give you that. And people want to see a little bit more of him. He must not get it done in practice. Now, he has in some of the games. And the thing about TW2 is that he doesn't really bring a lot of offense. And, you can look, I know through the game, you can look if you're a plus minus, and he doesn't have a great plus minus. Terrence Williams, I think, physically, what he can bring defensively, the coaches like him, and you must see it in practice from him as well. You just don't see it in the game. So, that's been a hole in Michigan's team of this entire season. They've had, you can go to 2 or 3 guys, and then, you got to work with Doug McDaniel. You understand him as a freshman, but that 5th player out there, Terrence Williams II, is best served on a tournament team coming off the bench. He's just too inconsistent offensively. And if you could spot him coming off the bench, meanwhile, it's not like anybody's been really able to step up off the bench. And I know people wanted to see Cheddar when they had a chance. When Jet got hurt, it was Joey Baker who got the start. And then he's been a little bit inconsistent, but he's come on. So what you would like to see is Baker really come on. If Baker could really start lighting it up, maybe he would go into the starting lineup, and then you could put TW2 to the bench, and you can start working it there. I think what you really want is both of those guys to be providing a little bit more, and they're going to have to if Michigan is going to make this push and start winning some ball games here in February. DN says Jace, Will Cheddar better than Jace, but we all know why Jace gets more PT. No, I don't. If you're indicating like because Jace is Juwan's kid, I think you have to deal with this when it comes down to nepotism, and I think that it's a fan thing that anytime that somebody's not doing something and it's your kid, it's going to be charged that way. Juwan just has to deal with it. Um, do you think that Juwan, in a situation where if Michigan would not make the tournament and with his assistants on this team would say, let's put Jason because he's my boy and he's not getting it done over Will Cheddar, who's not his kid? I don't think that myself. I think that would be ridiculous to be able to do. I don't see that by signs myself, but fans are going to do it. And I'm not saying that you're even like a bad guy or anything. I just know it happens. I've seen it in sports. I've seen it when Al Avila, who was the GM of the Tigers, and he had his son on the team after every game that his son didn't play well, people would call in, hey, Alex Avila sucks. The only reason he's okay. So, I mean, that's the way it goes. So they're just going to have to deal with that. So it's there. And, even though I don't think it is, you do, and you're going to get that charge every single time. So that's the downside of having your kid on the team, because if he doesn't play well, people are going to think that you're doing things and you're favoriting him because he's your kid. So there you go. Wade saying he likes Baker and what he's bringing currently. Yeah. With Baker being able to shoot from downtown, that's what you like. That's what you want to see. So you like to see Michigan get the win. You like to see Michigan get the win over Ohio State. And Michigan needs wins. That's where they're at. That's what they need to do. That's what's going down. That's how it is. So, they should get this next win against Nebraska. And then is there momentum? Because then it's like, whoa, they beat Northwestern on the road. They needed to win a road game. They got it done. They took advantage. Northwestern was tired because of having to play because of that, what was it, of COVID they missed some time, so they had to play 5 games in 11 days. So they were a little tired, and Michigan took advantage. Good for them. Today, Ohio State's not that good of a team. Michigan took advantage of it from start to finish. Michigan looked like the better team all the way through. That's what you're supposed to do against the team that you're better than. Same thing coming up against Nebraska. And so then we're going to see. But, the best version of Michigan is Hunter Dickinson looking like he did today and just having some flow to his game. How many times have I watched Michigan and it's like, all right, they throw it down to Hunter Dickinson on the block and like he turns and it's like he doesn't know where he's at on the floor. And it's like it gets a little stale. It's like, oh, here's Dickinson over on the left side. Michigan forcing it in down to him. The other team doubles or he throws it right. Today, it was nothing like that. Ball wasn't sticking. It was moving around. He was moving around. And if they could get more of that from him, that's going to be the ticket. And then, I think both Jet and Kobe Buffkin is the, second and third options there on offense. I think we know, Buffkin has been pretty solid all year long that way. And Jet can score in bunches. He's only going to get better with the more experience he has. I mean, he's a big-time scorer. You want more consistency from him, but, he's a baller. You don't want him. And so then you look to Baker. Baker's the one. Like, I don't think Terrence Williams II is just going to, start filling it up. He's had far too many games where, he just hasn't been able to do it offensively. And Baker with the jumper, that's what you want. You want some scoring from outside. You want that scoring from the bench. I would say that he's the key. Now, the number one key is Dickinson being like he was today. I would look at the second key for Michigan is getting Joey Baker and having him being able to get you some scoring. And then from there, I think this thing, you can get out there and then you can win some ball games. Michigan has not had much impact from their bench at all this year. And so, really you can start going to each player and say, hey, he can do a little bit more. He can do a little bit more. It's time. It's time. They want to make the tournament. They're going to play like they did today against better teams and find some victories that way. And, they could have a chance. Jay Wright said they look like an NCAA tournament team today. They did look like an NCAA tournament team today. You have to consider the opposition and then also consider if Michigan's going to be able to continue to do this. Do you get momentum when you beat Northwestern on the road, beat Ohio State, and then beat Nebraska coming up on Wednesday? All games that were very winnable. I know how the fans will think about it. You feel like you got some momentum, you got something going, and the team mentally, they're going to think, hey, we've got something going now. And then we'll see if they're going to be able to beat Indiana. It's going to be a nice test. Like, they're going to beat Nebraska. If they lose to Nebraska, everything that we're talking about today, oh, this is good, it goes the other way. So let's circle Saturday's game against Indiana. Michigan will be at home. I know the Hoosiers were great yesterday. I talked about that, but that's one. So that would be the point, like Northwestern, Ohio State, Nebraska. Michigan will be going for their fourth win in a row. If they can beat Indiana on Saturday, I'm going to sit around and start talking about them as a potential tournament team at that point. Maybe if they do that, they will put themselves, actually they will. I know how it works. I mean, they're on the outside looking in for sure, but they're going to be moving up with a victory today. They'll be moving up a little bit more with a victory over a very beatable, they better beat, Nebraska coming up on Wednesday. And then we're talking about protecting the home floor and taking down the Hoosiers. That's what they need to do. That's how they need to get it done. Now, I mentioned the game coming up on the against Nebraska. Somebody is saying it is on Tuesday. Let's just go back and see. I've got it on Wednesday, February the 8th. So you confused me for a second, but that's where it's at right now. Let me double check. Sometimes I could mess it up. No, I've got it as a Wednesday game. So there we go. That's the one that they'll need to get for sure. And then we'll be talking about, all right. There's going to be a lot of people that are like, okay, Ohio State wasn't, and all of that. There's a point to it, and it's all understandable. But put yourself in position where it's going to be exciting for the basketball fans that are, you're going to have your core and diehards, and there'll be some people that'll just watch today's game. Football's over. It was against Ohio State. People will take a look, and they had to like what they saw today. They're not going to be watching on Wednesday against Nebraska. But Saturday against Indiana, that's another one where your casuals will say, okay, look at this. Michigan going for 4 in a row. Let's see what happens. And so they'll have a chance to do that coming up then. Thanks for watching. I'll talk with you tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Good Afternoon Michigan football and basketball. Until then, everybody have a great rest of their Sunday. Michigan wins at 77-69. So long, everybody. Take care.